Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by thanking Shri Nitin Gokhale, founder BharatShakti, who has given me this opportunity to speak to you on this inaugural session of this Infia Defence Conclave. And that goes without saying that it gives me great pleasure to be here amidst you all. As the lady has said, that I'll be expressing my views on a collaborative approach towards national security. We all are aware that the expanding dimensions of the concept of national security. In this new paradigm, conventional threats are only a larger part of the challenges that face a nation and needs to be addressed under the whole ambit of national security. When we look at national security, a state would be looking at a range of traditional and non-traditional threats that impinge upon the security of the state. However, it is equally important to understand as to what a state is attempting to secure. In my view, we are looking at three important things which constitute a state. First is the territory that defines a state. Second is the people that constitute the state, whether they live within the state or outside its boundaries, and the ideology on which a state is based and the values it promotes. In an agrarian society of yesteryears, land was important. Hence, a couple of generations back, the prime focus of national security was probably to protect land. That is, to maintain the territorial integrity of the state. But the transformation from a feudal order to a modern society expanded the concept of national security, probably to protect the ideology and the value system of the state. But if you look at past history, while protecting the land or the territorial integrity or the ideology of a state, that was at the altar of human beings actually, and millions were lost in the world wars actually. But today, people form the most important constituent of the state, and human security, the well-being of the population, has got prominence. Most of the non-traditional threats a nation faces today, like energy security, financial security, ecological or environmental security, illegal immigration, drugs, narcotics, human trafficking, etc., are, in a manner, a larger part of protecting the population and their interests. The expanding and complex nature of threats to the three prominent constituents that form a state, that is the land, people, and ideology, calls for a collaborative kind of an approach. This collaborative approach is encapsulated in the concept of DIME, where diplomatic, informational, military, and economic elements of a nation power are used to provide comprehensive national security. But if we look at a larger level, then the security of a state should be the responsibility of the citizens which constitute that state, and it should be the responsibility of each and every citizen. So in the current context, if we see, there are a large number of civil society organizations, think tanks, etc., which are also concerned and work towards the security of the state. The BharatShakti platform, run by Shri Nitin Gokhale, is one such example. Involving all citizens of the state in national security architecture, it's a utopian kind of an idea, but increasingly we find that large number of columnists, writers, thinkers expressing their views on national security, which some manner or the other aids towards national security. Hence, a collaborative approach for national security in future would expand beyond the concept of DIME, where the formal structures of the government, that is diplomatic, military, informational, and economic, would get mixed with, say, quasi-government or a right-thinking private enterprises, all fusing their efforts towards national security. So where does that leave the formal structures which the government has created for providing its security? In my view, these formal structures and organizations are not only responsible, but actually would be accountable when the time comes. So that is a big difference between these formal structures and otherwise. Otherwise, this expanding concept of national security will involve larger than the formal structures. Having spoken about the expanding scope of national security and the need for a collaborative approach, it would be not out of place to put India's defense conclave in context, especially from the point of view of the conventional challenges that India faces and mitigation strategies. India's security challenges, especially in the domain of conventional threats, are shaped by a number of factors: the geography of a nation, the history of evolution of our borders, the emerging geopolitical environment, and the rapid advances in technology. The first two, that's the geography and history, were normally considered as constant in the past. But if you look today, history is being interpreted differently by different nations. And if you look at the geographies, the physical geography as well as the human geography is transforming actually. For example, it could be in Xinjiang, Tibet, South China Sea. Geopolitical environment and technologies, they are by nature subject to change. But what is probably catches us off guard is the current speed at which they are changing. Technological advances are ushering in new arenas and methods of combat, which are actually influencing the outcome of conflicts and the larger direction of the course of a war. To meet these challenges may require efforts of more than one nation. This again calls for a collaborative approach among like-minded people and nations. The defense conclave being organized today by BharatShakti is probably looking at tangible elements that contribute towards national security. That's the military hardware and its manufacturing. Well, we all are aware that in defense manufacturing, the government is looking at self-reliance and atmanirbharta. Both these words have a special meaning. In self-reliance will only come when we know about self, that is the oneself. And in atmanirbharta, the atma, or the soul of the concept, is the whole concept of actually atmanirbharta. And it's around this soul that the metaphysical word of the human beings revolves. India's strategic autonomy, or the freedom of choices which it exercises, can only be fulfilled if we are able to reduce foreign dependency. But Make in India or Atmanirbharta does not mean that foreign OEMs have no place in India. Rather, they'll have to adapt to new business rules or models. The Make in India encourages not only Indian entrepreneurs, but also envisages establishment of joint ventures between foreign OEMs, Indian industry, whether it is private or government owned. And this would meet the requirements of us and like-minded nations. So these are the three small aspects of a collaborative approach which I thought I will convey to you, and that is towards achieving of national security. And at the end, I would like to thank Nitin Gokhale once again and BharatShakti for inviting me. I wish the conclave grand success. Thank you.